you for renting from Easy Camper Rental. This is a walkthrough of the East to West 2200S, which is a 24-foot motorhome with a slide out on the driver's side. A few days prior to your pickup date, you will receive an email with online documents to sign. Once you have signed and finalized those documents, you will receive a final email with all the pertinent pickup and drop-off information. The drop-off location will be the same as the pickup location unless otherwise agreed. Please return the motorhome clean inside and outside unless Easy Clean add-on has been selected, which can be selected at any time. Please remember to treat the equipment as your own. Always think 12 feet above you, 30 feet behind you, and 10 feet wide. Take corners wider than usual. Park farther away from the curbs than usual. Always be watchful for trees, especially park strict trees at your house, and travel through tight spots as straight as possible. The speed limit in a motorhome is 65 miles per hour regardless of the posted speed limit, and always be aware of weather and wind forecast while traveling. You can use windfinder.com or the Windfinder app to forecast wind on your route. I'll put the site in the description of this video, as any travel in 40 plus mile per hour wind is prohibited due to high blowover potential. Everything in the motorhome will run off the batteries and the propane except for the microwave, the AC, and 110 volt house style outlets. Those three items will run off of an electrical source like at a campground or the onboard generator. The onboard generator use is 4 hours per night, and that all adds up for the total. So for example, 4 nights would be 16 total hours. Any usage above that will be charged at $5 per hour. The motorhome does have solar to recharge the batteries, and the batteries will be recharged by any electrical source or running the generator. Also, remember the rental includes 100 miles per night, and any miles over that will be charged at 30 cents per miles. In this video, I will go around the outside, the inside, the cab, and then wrap up. Let's go to the outside. We're on the outside of the motorhome here, and again, all the information you need is going to be in that final email, including the number of the motorhome that you will have. So it will be indicated right there. Like for example, this is 125M. And then the keys will be in an indicated storage area in a lockbox. So it won't be always in this exact spot, but this one, it's right here. There'll be a lockbox right here. You will have the lockbox code in that final email. And so you put that code in, and then you'll get the keys out. So you got the ignition, you got the storage doors, and then you got the key for the main door to the motorhome portion. Also in here, you've got some wheel chocks, because you need to chalk the wheels, and you also have leveling blocks. You have 3 leveling blocks. These are wedges. So what you do is you put these on the ground in front or behind the tire on the side that you want to raise up. So for example, if the driver's side is lower than the passenger side, then you'll put these on the driver's side, and then you'll drive up onto them, or you can back up onto them. Again, it's easier to have a spotter there so you don't drive all the way off of them. But that's how you use those leveling blocks, just to level the motorhome side to side. And so the first thing I want to reiterate again is about the awning. Again, it's the #1 damaged part of the trailers or motorhomes, and so be very careful with it. Only use it when you are at the motorhome and outside with it. You know, don't go to sleep with it out. Don't use it in very inclement weather, and just make sure you take care of it, because it can get damaged really easily. So going around the outside of this is the exhaust portion of the heater. So that can get really hot, so make sure you watch out for that. We do have a cable, if you have cable set up and you got a TV. There's some more 115 volt outlets. You got some storage right here. With the tires here, there are tire pressure monitors on here. So if you can see them on the front side with the number, it's always going to be green. But if these lose pressure, then it will, on the side portion, it will go from yellow to red. So if it starts getting yellow, that means that there's probably a screw or something in there, and you need to watch that. So I would just look at those every time you stop. Make sure that there is some pressure. Those are green, because if they drop to yellow, and definitely if they drop to red, if they're red, they're flat. So if they're yellow, they're just low. So definitely keep those pumped up, because you don't want to have to replace a tire on the side of the road. It's not going to be fun. So again, storage, you got your main door here. You got your chassis door. On these mirrors here, what you do is in the cabinet above the sink, there will be this Allen wrench. Now, it's got a bunch of Allen wrenches on it, but the one you need is 3/16. And on the side here, right here, is how you loosen or tighten this mirror. So if you need to adjust these mirrors, you have to loosen this up, and then you adjust it to where you need it to be, like up or down or left to right, and then you tighten it back up. You don't move the glass portion of it. The glass doesn't move, only this box portion. So again, you loosen it, move it around, up, down, left, right, and then tighten it again. And again, it's a lot easier if you have someone to help you. If you're doing it yourself, you have to go sit and then move, and then sit and then move. But that's how you move those mirrors. Coming around to the driver's side here, you always want to watch out for the generator exhaust right here, because you could hit that on a curb and really bend it. If you bend it, then the generator's not going to work, and then we got to replace it. So just again, that's one of the reasons why I say think that you're driving 10 feet wide and park farther away from curbs than usual, because you don't want to hit that on a curb and then it's bent. And then right here you've got your side view cameras. There's one on each side. The monitor, which I'll show you, is in the cab, and so when you turn your turn signals on, you can see that. So when you're parking close to a curb, you can turn your turn signal on. You can kind of see where it is. Makes it a little bit easier. Right here we've got our generator. So these doors are going to be locked. They're just unlocked right now. We've got our generator right here. You can start it from the inside, which I'll show you. Or you can start it from here, or if the batteries die, you can actually pull start it. So you undo these, you pull this up, not easy to do one-handed, and then there's a pull cord back there, so you can pull start it. Another thing you want to notice is there is a breaker on this. So if the generator is not working, or it's turning on and it's not powering anything, you can't figure out why, check this breaker, because that's a lot of times that's the culprit, and you want that to be up. And if it's down, it means it's been tripped, so you want it to be up there. There's also master switches on and off, so you got to check all that stuff if you need to troubleshoot the generator for any reason. Going right here is your propane. So there are 9 gallons of propane in this, so it's a plenty of propane. It's reading at 3/4 full. I think it's actually more full than that, but because I just filled it, I haven't used hardly any of it. But anyways, we will make sure there's enough propane. Even if it's not full completely, you will have enough, because 9 gallons of propane will last you months in a summertime. So again, you turn it on using this. So nothing's like, the heater's not going to work, the stovetop's not going to work, none of that's going to work until you turn the propane on. And the easiest way to get propane flowing on the inside is you turn this on, make sure this is open, and then go inside and light the stovetop first. It doesn't matter if you're going to use the stovetop, just light it first, because then it gets propane flowing through the lines, and then the heater will start faster, the water heater will start faster. It just makes it a lot easier. And again, everything in the motorhome will run off the the batteries or the propane, except for the microwave, the AC, and then the 120 volt outlets. Again, those you will need a generator or an electrical source. Right here we've got the water heater. So you shouldn't need to get to this, but if for some reason this is off, like if it's not working, it's not turning on the inside, you might want to check this if it's on. But that is pretty rare that anything like that would happen. Right here we've got these, we've got black water flush out, city water, and fresh water. It is extremely important to not use the black water flush out unless you are dumping the black water tank and the black water tank valve is pulled. And the reason why I say that is because some people have accidentally hooked up the black water when they thought they hooked up the city water, and what will happen is it will fill up the black water tank and then will start overflowing into the toilet, and all of that waste is going to come into the motorhome. It's disgusting. Don't do that. If you're not comfortable with that at all, do not use this valve or this black water flush. Again, that's only used when you're flushing out the black water tank, which is the toilet, the sewer. These other two are the ones you want to focus on. So if you have city water, is pressurized water. So that's at a campground, at your house. As long as it's potable, you don't want to use secondary water or something like that that's not potable water. But as long as it's potable, you can connect it to here, and then you just use that. Like, you don't have to use the water pump inside because it's pressurized water. And then you have your fresh water down here. Your fresh water is the tank inside the motorhome. So it's underneath the bed. It's 35 gallons. You can fill that up this way. And what you do is you just connect the hose to that. And the hose right here is down here. This is the fresh water hose. It's 25 feet long. It has a pressure regulator on it. You want to make sure you always have that pressure regulator connected. And then you can connect to here and you can fill up the freshwater tank, or you can do the city water. With the city water, what I'd recommend is at the spigot, turn it off if you're away from the motorhome, because you don't want a line to break and then it's just going to keep pumping water in there. So turn the spigot off if you're at the campsite, if you're away. And then the fresh water, it'll fill up, and then what will happen is you'll know it's full because down here you got the two that don't have a valve on it. Those are the overflow. So water will leak out of those. So once water starts coming out of those, then you can just stop filling up the freshwater tank because it's full. So that's an easy way to tell. And then the one with the valve is a freshwater drain. So really simple. If you want to drain the freshwater tank, then you can flip that valve and drain the freshwater tank. When you pick up the motorhome, the freshwater tank will be filled. You can drain it if you want, if you're going to always have city water connection. I would just leave it just in case there's any issues with the city water. You can still use the freshwater tank. It's only 35 gallons and you're driving a billboard. So if you're worried about miles per gallon over 35 gallons of water, that's the least of your worries. So you don't need to worry about that. The next thing here is your 30 amp power. So you're going to have the power cord right here. The best way to do this has an indicator on it. There's a green light and a red light. So you want to plug this portion in first, and then make sure that light's green, because if it's red, don't plug this into the trailer. It will blow the converter, which is a costly repair. So you want to plug this in first. If you don't have 30 amps, there is a 30 to 15 amp adapter. 15 amp is like our house style outlets that you can use. That's in a plastic bin in the cabinet above the sink, and so then you can use that. However, just know that 15 amps, if you try and use like the microwave and the AC at the same time, or sometimes just the AC, will trip the breaker on the source side. So example, if you're using it at your house, it's going to trip the breaker inside your house. So nothing's wrong with the motorhome. It's just it's designed for 30 amps. So again, plug this in first, check the lights, and then go ahead and plug this portion in to here. So you put it in, and then it is a twist. So then it doesn't just fall off. So you put it in, twist. There is a lock ring here that you can, twist on. You don't have to though. I generally don't. I just put it in and twist it, and it's good to go. So that's how that works. These two things will be in this storage area right here. So this is, they'll be sitting on top of this. It pretty much takes up all this storage area. These are the sewer hoses. Again, we dump the tanks when you return, but if you need to dump the tanks, then you can do that while on your vacation. And how to do that is right here. So this one's a little bit different than other ones because the gray valve's on this side and the black valve's on the other side. So the best thing to do is you will connect, and there is a video on how to do this, and it's linked to it's in the description of this video, but you connect the sewer hose here, you run the sewer hose into the inlet of the sewer at the dump station, and make sure that's all tightly connected. And then you're going to dump the black water first, which is your toilet, and then the gray water second, because that flushes out all the waste, and that because that's your sink in your shower. So the black water is actually on this side, which is kind of interesting. It's right here. So it's right there, and it has a black handle. So black first, so you'll pull that, and then you'll go over here, and you'll make sure that it's all running out. If you've connected the black water flush out, like I talked about before, you'll flush water through there. So then once it's clear, you want to turn that off and disconnect it and everything. But then the black water's done, then you'll want to close the valve on that side and then open the gray valve and run until it's done. Until it's like a trickle. It's always going to be a trickle. So that's how you dump the tanks there. There is a big storage area right here. In this storage area, you can get to, once you've got the slide out, you can get to this underneath the queen bed too. Okay, gasoline only. Recommended 87 octane or above, but again, gasoline only. Please do not put anything other than gasoline in this. Do not put diesel fuel. Do not put kerosene, whatever. Only put gasoline. If you accidentally put something else in it, please don't drive it. We'll have to get the tank pumped out, and that's going to be much less costly than blowing an engine because you put the wrong fuel in. So gasoline only, and make sure it's gasoline only. Again, 87 octane and above is recommended. Go around the outside. Please don't go up on the roof unless you really have to. I don't know why you would need to, but please do not go on the roof. It is prohibited. And then there is a backup camera, which I'll show you in the cab. It's always running. It has its own monitor. The motorhome can tow. It is an extra cost. There is a lock on it right now, so that can't be used unless that cost is paid, and then that will be removed. And it's got a 7-way connector here too. But if you do need to use that, then just please call and we can figure that out for you. And again, that's pretty much it on the outside. Let's go to the inside and go from there. Going on the inside of the motorhome, I just wanted to mention some things that are right on the inside of the motorhome. Then I'll go over the control panel and then go from the front to the back of the motorhome. The first thing I want to show you is underneath this step are the batteries. So you've got dual 12-volt batteries. You shouldn't need to get to these, but if something happened, that is where the batteries are. And again, everything in the motorhome runs off the batteries or the propane, except for the microwave, the AC, and then 120-volt outlets. Those you need a generator, but you can use the onboard generator or the electrical connection at like a campground. Right here is your awning switch in and out. It is a 12-volt power awning, and you can use it, but please, if you are away from the motorhome or you're asleep, or if there's any inclement weather at all, please retract this. Again, the awning is the #1 damaged item, and it's very expensive to replace, so please remember to retract the awning and only use it when you are immediately there. Right here is the battery cutoff switch. I don't know why you would ever need to cut off the batteries, but if like nothing in the motorhome's working and you can't figure out why, check this, because I don't know, maybe a kid flipped it or something like that, and so that might be the culprit there. But that's the battery cutoff switch. You got your awning light, and then this is your solar controller. You don't need to do anything with this, and don't push any buttons or anything, just let it be. And then right here you've got, this is one of the outlets for the furnace. So let's go on the inside further here. So over to the control panel. So there's a lot of stickers around here. You'll see just a lot of reminders. Everything that these stickers say are just reminders of what's in this video. But again, please read all of these. It's going to answer a lot of your questions too. Just reminding you of a lot of stuff. So on the control panel here, we've got our battery, our battery charge here. So if you hold down this button, it'll tell us our battery charge, propane amount, and the propane doesn't necessarily have to be full. It's actually a lot of propane. It's 9 gallons, which can last you like months in the summer. And so even if it's 2/3 or 1/3, like you're probably fine, just depending on the duration. We're always going to try and have it full, but if it's not full when you pick up, it's not that big of a deal. We definitely know how much you need. And so you can check that. You got your freshwater tank. Then there's, and even with the freshwater tank, the top sensor is or the full sensor is at like the very tippy top of the tank. So it reads at 2/3 really fast when it's pretty much full. You've got your black water, which is your sewer, and your gray water, which is your sinks and your shower. And then the galley actually doesn't exist, so you don't need to worry about that one. The black and the gray, especially black, they are empty when you pick them up. I guarantee they're empty, but you can get debris on the sensors and then they'll read wrong. This is very common, has nothing to do with this motorhome. That's just how it is in all trailers and motorhomes and RVs, etc. So just know that it is, even if this reads like 2/3 when you pick it up, it is definitely empty. You can even look down into the toilet if you want to, and it's definitely empty. And then we do empty them when you return, so you don't have to worry about emptying the gray, black, or refilling propane. We will do that for you when you return. We also will refuel the gas when you return at just regular cost of whatever fuel is. There's no surcharge on that. So the rest of the stuff on here, you do have your generator. So if you need to start the generator, hasn't been started for a while, you might need to hold down the prime for a little bit and then start it. And it'll start and then it will run for like 30 seconds before it's going to power anything. So you know when it really turns on because a light on the microwave right there will light up, and that's how you know that it's turned on or that it's powering. But it will run for 30 seconds before it powers anything. So just know that it's not going to immediately power stuff. But that's how you turn your generator on. If this is not working, then as I showed you on the outside, you can use the switch on the outside to turn it on too. And then if it doesn't end up powering anything, even after the 30 seconds or a minute or so, there's a breaker on the generator that I showed you on the outside, and you'll want to flip that, and that's most likely the issue there. The rest of the stuff here, you've got your water heater, so we can turn that on if we want our water heater, and then the control for it, which I'll go over later, is right there. And then we've got our water pump. Again, this is pulling from the freshwater tank, and you only need it on when you're using it. So example is you turn it on, you take a shower, and then you turn it off. Or you turn it on and you use the sink and then you turn it off. You don't have it on all the time. The reason why is it's an on demand, and it can, like if a line breaks, it's just going to keep pumping water and flood the motorhome. Also, you do not use this if you are connected to city water, like at a campground. If you have your hose connected, you do not need the water pump because it's just going to use the pressure from the city water, and you don't need the pressure from the water pump. The Arctic package is tank heaters. So if it's really cold outside and you want to make sure that the water in your fresh water is warmer, then you can use this. Or if it's really cold outside and you don't want the black water to freeze or something, you can use that. But during the summer or something, you won't need that at all. And then you've got your light switches, living room and kitchen, and I'll go more over lights later. We've got this is another light switch. There is a light switch back by the driver's side, kind of where the slide out is. It's where the dump area is for the motorhome. And again, even though we dump the tanks for you when you return, you, like I showed you on the outside, you do have the sewer connections if you want to dump that yourself along your journey. And so this is just a light on the outside over there to illuminate that area to help you when you're dumping if it's dark. And then the slide out. So the slide out is a little tricky. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put the key in the ignition and turn it on. You don't have to turn the engine on. You just put it to accessory on is what it is. And then you have to make sure that the parking brake is set. So parking brake set and the ignition on, and then you can use the slide out. If you don't do those two things, then it's not going to work. And that's, again, all in this area. The other things about the slide out is that you only want to extend it all the way out or all the way in. And then when you're doing that, you hold it down. So you hold this button down after it's been extended all the way or retracted all the way. You continue to hold it down for 5 seconds. That resets the motor or resyncs the motors. So it really helps with the longevity of the slide out and make sure that you're not going to have any issues. So again, only all the way out or only all the way in, and continue to hold down the button for 5 seconds afterwards. I know it's a lot to remember, but again, it's all covered in here, so remember to read those there. The other thing with the slide out, I'll mention here. So this is the slide out comes into this area, so this needs to be a fold up bed, because if it wasn't, it would run into this wall right here. So when you do this, when you slide out, or I'm sorry, when you slide back in, you're going to need to fold this bed up first so it doesn't run into this wall and get jammed up. So just fold it up and make sure it's running smoothly. Alright, so that's everything on the control panel here. So I'll start at the front up here. So you've got your bunk over the cab, and I will actually have a bed protector sheet on this, just not at the time of this video, but I have one on the way. I'm going to put one on here, so that will be on here. And then in this area you do have some storage areas. You got some USBs. The USBs do run off of the batteries, so you don't have to have an electrical source for those. So you got those. This is a TV mount. There is no TV. You are camping. Enjoy what you've come to see. And the TVs really they break easily, so they're not really a very good amenity anyways. But that's the up here, and this is a full queen dimension, so 60 inches wide, 40 inches long. You can sleep 2 people. It's a 700-pound rating up here. So that's that. This portion, you can remove this, so you can move it. So when you get in and out of the cab, you don't have to duck as much. Personally, I just leave it the way it is. It's not that big of a deal to duck getting in and out of the cab that much, but you can take this out and move it and put it away. The other things that you can move is, so this is the ladder here. It's a really good ladder. It's actually too long for this application, but this is what it came with. So these are cool ladders because they will collapse all the way, and then you can put it up here. So right now it's in the brackets here, but if you take it out of the brackets, and then you can collapse it if you hold down, and you got to watch your fingers because you don't want to pinch yourself, but you push this side in and this side in at the same time, and then you can collapse it all the way down. And then there's this clip right here that will go around and clip to the other side, and then you can take that ladder and put it up here out of the way. Same thing with this privacy curtain. So this is just to give you a little bit of privacy if you're at your campground, you're parked, you don't want people seeing inside. You can put this curtain up. This curtain won't be up when you pick up the tray or the motorhome, just like the ladder won't be. It'll be up here, and then this will be folded up in this area here. So that's your front bunk. Oh, and you've got the privacy curtain that way too. Again, be very careful with this. These do tear out really easily, so make sure that you only pull across. Don't pull down. They get pulled down and then they break. And also a thing to mention is don't use this as a step. Definitely use the ladder. If you use this as a step, this Dinette's going to break, and that's going to be a costly repair. Over here you have your radio. This is not something I support or guarantee is going to work. The radio works off. You've got a couple speakers here. There's a couple speakers on the outside. You can Bluetooth to it. Again, I'm not guaranteeing it's going to work. And actually, I'll go over this in the cab, but you might be able to Bluetooth this to one of the accessories I've put into the cab, and then you might be able to play the same music you're playing in the cab out here, but I'm not sure if that'll work. I've actually not tried that, but you might be able to figure that out. But if you can, then that is there for you. We've got some storage here. You'll see there's a lot of storage all around with cabinets and so on. The lights up here, so this light, and then there's a light there and a light there. Those are all push buttons, so you push them on, off. All the other lights in here are going to have switches. So on either on the control panel or back here, they're all going to have switches for them to work. Let's go to the dinette here. So we do have 4 seat belts. On this side, the seat belts are longer than on this side. So this side you can seat maybe smaller, much smaller adults, or maybe small children that aren't in a booster seat or anything like that, and they need a shorter seat belt. So that way, we did that so that you could have smaller children in the dinette area. For those of you that have kids in car seats, you can put a car seat on either side of this dinette. I'll show you on this side, but again, you can do it on either side. The first thing I would recommend is putting down some sort of protection underneath the car seat just so it doesn't damage the cushion. You could either use a towel, a rag, or some other protection, but just make sure that you do that so it doesn't damage the dinette or the cushion here. You can use the lap belt here to secure the car seat, and then right here there's an eyelet, and there's one on either side here. Again, on the other side too, there's 2 of them, and you can use this if there's a back tether to come down and clip to that, and that way you can secure the car seat in this dinette area. And then this will make down into a bed. So I've got some stickers here that shows you, but it's hard to do it with one hand. But basically you pull up, and then you kind of pull out, and it will go down. There's a mechanism you see back there, right there, and it will come down, and then the table will sit on these ledges. And then what you do is you take the cushions and you push them all together. The seat belts you could probably actually put underneath. This does have a screw. If you wanted to take that screw out, you could, but they could go underneath here, or they could just go back, underneath the cushion back there and someone's not going to be laying on them underneath the cushion. And then you got 2 drawers down here for some storage area too. So over here, there is an extender for the kitchen here. And so please just be patient with this. Don't force it down or anything. See, it says release latches below to lower. The latches are down here, so it's really easy just to undo that latch, and then that goes down. The kitchen here, so this is to give you more counter spot or space, so you can use that right there. And then you've got your sink, and you've got your stovetop here, and then there's a convection microwave. So the stovetop, the first thing you want to do is, if you're traveling, you want this glass down, or else it'll fall down and break. But if you're not traveling, you're using it, you want to raise this glass, and then it's a backsplash. You don't cook on the glass or anything, that will shatter it. So you cook on the grates here. So what you do is you first turn on the propane, which I showed you on the outside. And then up here in the storage area, you've got a bunch of stuff that you'll need, like a level. There's a 15 to 30 amp adapter. There's some, and this is what you'll need, is a lighter right here. So you get the lighter here, and then you're going to turn this on. I actually don't have the propane on, so it's not flowing. But you'll put it to high, and you'll push this in, and you'll hear the propane flowing. And then you can go ahead and light the stovetop, and then hold it in after it's lit for about 5 seconds, just so it stays lit, and then you can adjust it. And then this right here is just a light. And then again, when you're done with this and it's not in use, just go ahead and put it down. the microwave here. So we've got, so this is a convection microwave, so it can work as an oven and it can work as a microwave. So you've got a bunch of different settings here. The grill part of it's not going to work. To be honest, there is another part of it that I took out just because I knew it was going to get lost or taken, unfortunately. So the grill portion of it's not going to work, but the convection portion and the microwave portion will work. So, you can set it to the degrees that you need. You can set it to the convection or the microwave, and a quick start or something like that. So, again, you do need 120 volt connection or the generator for this to work. Down here is some breakers. So if you push this in, it will pop out. Sometimes it's pretty rare, but sometimes a breaker can be tripped, and this is where you would see, if something wasn't working, and then here's your what those breakers do and everything. And then you've got fuses here. If a fuse goes bad, the light will light up, and there are extra fuses in this plastic bin, which is in the cabinet above the sink. There will also be an instruction manual up here that will cover all of this stuff. In case you don't have the video handy, you can look at the instruction manual and it will show screenshots and everything and how to run that stuff. So let's go to the fridge here. So this is a 12 volt DC fridge. It will run off the batteries, and it always runs off the batteries. Even if you're plugged into an electrical source, it still runs off the batteries. It's just the batteries are being constantly charged. So you can open this from either side, this side or this side, but you open it up. It's a really easy operation. So up here, you hold this down, and it's not really a button, it's kind of just a sensor, and you hold that down for 5 seconds and then it turns on. So 40 degrees, so you got Fahrenheit. You can change it to Celsius if you want to. You've got fridge and freezer, so your freezer is set at 5 degrees and Fahrenheit, and fridge is 40 degrees Fahrenheit. You can change those. I wouldn't change them a whole lot though. Again, if you crank it all the way down, it's not going to cool any faster. It's just going to eventually freeze everything. And then to turn it off, you just hold this down for 5 seconds, and again it will turn off, and OF means off. And so that's the fridge portion. This is the freezer down here. One thing to note about the fridge is only place frozen or cold items in the freezer or fridge. Don't try and put warm items like a 12-pack of soda and expect the fridge to cool it down. It's designed to keep things frozen or cold and not to cool them down. So that's a reminder with the sticker here too. And then in here we've got the kitchen sink area, and this is the GFI outlet right here. So all the outlets are connected to this GFI. So if this one trips, none of the outlets or the 120 volt outlets are going to work. So you need to reset it here. And then once you've got that reset, they'll all work again. But just know that all the outlets are GFI connected. This is your water heater control. So pretty simple. You can't turn it on and off at this, but remember the first thing is that you got to put this switch. This water heater switch has to be on. So again, if you're not using it, turn this off and make sure it's off. But if you are going to use it, turn that switch on first, and then you go to here, and all you're doing is just setting the temperature. I would recommend just setting it to like 100, maybe 102, depending on how hot you like your water, and then just only use the hot water. Don't try and set it to like 120 and then mix it with cold and hot. They don't really work very well like that. It is an on-demand water heater, so it doesn't have a tank. So it's best to just set it to whatever temperature you want and then just use the hot water side and not try and mix it. So very simple. And then it will, again, you want your propane on, and then you can just use your hot water and turn it on. It does take a little while for it to get hot to here. You'll see this 73 That's what it's saying the water temperature is right now. You will see that rise as it goes through its sequence and heats the water up. Over here, we've got our switches for the lights in this area, so here and here. And then you've got your thermostat. So the thermostat, it will run the furnace, which is the heater. It will run the air conditioner. Again, the furnace will run off the batteries of the propane, so you don't have to have a generator or electrical connection. The AC, you do need a generator or an electrical connection for it to be working. So I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but on this side is where you select if you want heat or cool. And then there's a heat plus cool option. I would recommend not using that. I would just either set it to heat or set it to cool, whatever one you need. And then on this side are the fan settings. So what you would do is you would push the button, and then it will start blinking, and you can say, okay, I want my heater, and then I hit that. Oh, sorry, the heater does not have fan settings, so you don't have to worry about the fan side of that. But so you'd set your heat, and then you would set your desired temperature. This temperature is the room temperature, as it says, so it's just the ambient temperature inside right now. So it's not going to turn on because it's set to 70, but the temperature is 73 right now. So if I set it above 73, then it would do that. So if I want to set the AC, go to cool right there, push the button, and then I got my fan settings. You see there's high auto, high and low. Again, that's just the fan setting on the AC itself. Again, I recommend high auto, but I found that sometimes on the generator, and I can't quite figure this out, but if you're using the generator, using the auto setting, it like won't work. So you have to set it to just either high or low. So either way, you can play around with it, and then you can set, you set your temperature, whatever you want it to be. So like, 74, for example. And again, this wouldn't turn on because AC set to 74, but it's 73 in here. And then to turn it off, you just set it to off, and then fan to off, and it's all off. Also, another thing to note about the air conditioner is please be reasonable about the temperatures you're trying to attain. The reason why is the air conditioner is only designed to cool down 20, maybe 30 degrees from the outside temperature. So for example, if you are in Arizona and it's 120 degrees outside and you're in direct sunlight and it's super hot inside the motorhome, and you've pulled all the hot air out using the fan, then the AC isn't going to get it down to like 70 degrees in here. It's just not going to do it. It's just not designed to do that. And there's for multiple reasons. And so if you run the AC for long periods of time, like what's said here, it will freeze the condenser on there. This can happen in our houses too. It just doesn't happen very often. It's extremely rare because they're so big, but the units here are much smaller, so they can freeze up if you run them for long periods of time or you're putting a lot of strain on them. So for again, if the example it's 120 degrees outside, you might get down to like 90 degrees, but you're not going to get down to 70. So just again, be reasonable about those temperatures. And if you do freeze the condenser, what will happen is it will still act like it's working. It's just not. It won't blow any cold air. And so you have to stop it. You gotta let it thaw out, which doesn't take a ton of time, maybe 30 minutes. But then you can start using it again. But again, just be reasonable about that. Okay, you've got your bedroom area. Again, this is what the slide out is good for, and so it gives you a lot more room in this bedroom area. This is an upgraded mattress. The stock mattresses are terrible. It still is a folding mattress, so it's not the best mattress in the world, but it's far better than the stock mattress. And so this does fold up, and you do want to fold it up before you put the slide out in. So it's super easy to slide them or to fold them up. Say I'm doing this with one hand. So it's like that now. And then this is how you'll want to set it when you are putting the slide out in, like this. And the reason why is it kind of, if you don't, it kind of gets caught on this piece of wood right here. And it'll be fine, but it's just better to move this out of the way, and so it's not getting caught on this, and then you can slide it in. And when you're sliding this in or out, you definitely want to make sure, you know, there's nothing in the way. You just look over here, make sure you're not going to hit anything at all, because that can cause some serious damage if you do. And then also in this area, another thing I mentioned, right now I as time of this video, I don't have the sheet, but I do have a mattress protector for this bed, and it will be in this area, so you can put it on. So there'll be a mattress protector that you can use. You still want to put a sheet over that, but at least it'll be there to protect that mattress. And you do have some outlets, some USB here in the bedroom area too. Lots of storage too on this over here. And then right here is a kind of an accordion, and this little guy right here, it connects to that. So you set it right there, and then you've got some privacy in this area. One thing to note, by the queen bed in this area, there is this carbon monoxide and propane sensor. This will go off if it senses propane, if there's a propane leak or if there's carbon monoxide. However, there's a lot of false alarms on these, so don't freak out if it does go off. If you cover it up, like you put a bag against it, it's going to go off. If a pet lays against it, it will go off. If a pet breathes on it, it will go off. If you use any sort of aerosol, so bug spray, sunscreen, hairspray, or anything like that, then it will set this off too. So just know that this can go off. It's pretty sensitive, so it will have false alarms. So don't freak out if it does go off. Just, you know, clear the area. Make sure this is completely cleared, that there's no pets around it or anything like that, or that you didn't use any aerosol spray. Even if you were not even close to it when you were using the aerosol spray. Again, these things can just go off pretty easy. And so the best thing to do is just clear the area, open some windows, clear out, maybe turn the fan on until it goes off. And then if it keeps going off constantly, then yeah, there might be an issue. But you know, just know that there's a lot of false alarms on these. And then you do have a bathroom. There will be a dustpan with this too. It's just not on there right now. And then you've got your bathroom area. There will be some extra toilet paper and a toilet paper here. There's a couple hooks for towels. You get your light switches and your fan. So there's a fan, and you can open that up too. And then you've got your bathroom or your toilet here, which it's flush with your foot. Again, you'll want either pressurized water from city water, like a campground, or you'll want the water pump running. And then, you know, water heater if you're using the shower. Again, just use the hot side. Set it to whatever temperature you want and use the hot side. There's not... So depending on if you're at a campground, if you have city water, of course you have unlimited source of water, but it still goes into the gray tank, so you don't have an unlimited capacity to hold the wastewater. So just remember that the best... And then if you don't have city water, then you're running off your freshwater tank. It's 35 gallons, so it's not a ton of water. So the best practice when using any RV, whether motorhome or trailer, is just to get in, get wet, turn it off, and you can turn it on and off at the head here. You don't have to use the valves down here. But you know, get in, get wet, turn it off, lather up, turn it back on, rinse off, and then be done from there. So it's just, you know, quick showers. You don't want to stay in the shower a ton, or you're going to run out of water really quick. And then you know, you'll see there's a heater vent there too. You'll see those. There's a few of them. There's one right here too. the AC, there's one right there. The AC is not vented, it just is coming out of here. And you can close these, like if you only want the AC to come out this way or to come out that way. And then the last thing I forgot to mention here is you do have this remote here controls this fan. So this fan, you can open and close the top manually, but the fan and everything has to be controlled through this. And what this fan does is this pulls air out of the motorhome. So if it's been sitting in direct sunlight, you get in here, it's really hot, you'll want to turn this fan on and it will suck all that hot air out, even before you turn the AC on. Because if you don't, that AC, that hot air is still in here. So it doesn't just go away. So you got to suck it out first and then go from there. The other ones, like this one, those are just manual, like vents that you can open. This one's has a fan on it just because there are toilets in here. But again, this one is controlled through this. So you can turn it on and off and it will raise up and it will suck the water, or sorry, the air out of there really fast. So there you go. That's that's the walkthrough of the inside. Now we will go through the cab and go from there. If you have the motorhome with the Chevy chassis, it's relatively simple. On the inside, you have your controls on your lights. You have your dome light controls for that. There is a toggle switch down here. If the batteries die on the chassis, you can use the batteries to start the motorhome using the motorhome batteries. You have your parking brake down here, and then you've got your release here. The key ignition does need to be on and the parking brake on for the slide out to go out. Then you can turn the ignition off. Up here you've got some controls to kind of toggle through. Right here you've got obviously your speedometer and tachometer and so on. You have your AC controls here, so fan speed, cold or hot, and then the different settings there. This does have an upgraded head unit in it, and so you've got your volume, you've got your settings, and this does have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so you plug in with USB here to run it to your phone, and then you can run Apple CarPlay and Android Auto through this head unit. And then you do have some 12-volt DC connections if you need to charge your, if you had a connection like that for your phone. There is a 120-volt here too. And you've got some storage compartments, some cup holders, and so on. And then this one does have a dedicated camera, so it will always be on the backup. And then if you turn your left turn signal on, it will go to the left camera, and your right turn signal on, go to the right camera. You can adjust that. I recommend not messing around with these buttons on here. Just leave it as is, because that's as good as it needs to be. And then remember that the speed limit, regardless of the posted speed limit, is 65 miles an hour just for your safety. And then always think 12 feet above you and 30 feet behind you and 10 feet wide, and then take corners wider than you normally would. If you have the Ford chassis motorhome, it is also very simple. Over here you have your exterior lights, which you probably just leave on auto, and your interior lights dimming. Down here you have a button which, if you kill the batteries on the chassis and can't start the engine, you can flip that switch and you can start the engine with the motorhome batteries. And then you have your park brake right here. And remember, with the slide out, you need the park brake on and the ignition on in the motorhome. You don't have the engine on, but just the ignition. And then you can run the slide out in and out and then turn the ignition off. On the steering wheel controls, you have your controls for your cruise control, and then these controls control the displays on the dash here. Right here you do have a really good head unit. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which you would use this regular USB plug to use that, and that will display once you plug your phone in. This right here is just for charging, so you have a USB-C and a regular USB, and then you also have a 110-volt outlet there, and then you have your AC controls here. On your head unit here, when you're driving, if you turn the left turn signal on,
a camera will come up with the left side of the motorhome, and then if you turn your right turn signal on, the right side of the motorhome will come up, and if you want to see the rear, you can click on rear camera and you can see the rear there. But the controls on this are fairly simple for the radio and such. And then here you got tons of cup holders, tons of space. You also have some space in the doors and then the glove box, and some space down here. Remember that the motorhome speed limit is 65 miles per hour regardless of the posted speed limit. If you go over that, which you can, it just does get kind of squirrely sometimes, especially in wind. And then always remember to think 15 feet above you, 10 feet wide, and 30 feet behind you, because you don't want to run into any trees or overhangs at hotels or anything like that.
As we wrap up, I just want to remind you again, always think 12 feet above you, 30 feet behind you, and drive like you're 10 feet wide. Again, having an accident, these things do happen, but they can be minimized by those three things and using a spotter. If you're going through a tight spot, again, go through as straight as possible. Let someone spot you. Let someone, show you the way through it, and so you don't accidentally back into something or run into something or take a corner too not wide enough and run into something. The other thing you want to watch out for is any dips, like going inside and out of a gas station, for example. If it's a really deep dip, you might have to go at a corner or just go in a different way or go to a different gas station. Just be very careful, be very defensive driving, so you can enjoy your vacation. You don't have any of that kind of stress hanging over you if you did cause an accident. So again, thank you for renting from Easy Camper Rental, and I hope you enjoy your vacation.